Hey everyone and welcome to Storytime. My name is Jake and today we are going to be looking at the subreddit r/maliciouscompliance, where people conform to the letter but not the spirit of a request. If you're new around here, please do hit subscribe down below so that you never miss out on another video. But for now, let's sit back, relax, and enjoy some malicious compliance. Throw your tray? Okay, be annoyed. Okay guys, this just happened a few days ago. I work at a hospital as a room service ambassador and work on the surgical floor. One day, I found out while I was off a Karen was admitted to the hospital. She supposedly was very rude and demanded 5 entrees on her tray, 4 sides and 3 desserts on each of her meal trays. She would throw the whole tray on the floor and would loudly complain if there was even a packet of sugar missing. One day, it made one of my fellow ambassadors cry. So when I heard of this, I had to see this for myself. She was skinny and ate everything on the tray. She was on a calorie restricted diet, but the nurses didn't want her to complain, so they let her have it. Well, I saw the lady herself and was indeed skinny and not how I was expecting her to look. Well, after testing around and forgetting an orange juice on her tray, she threw the tray on the ground in front of me. See, she was in a contact room, which meant we had to wash our hands up and down and glove up. Not only that, but we had to ask her for her name and date of birth. Malicious compliance mode engaged. Well, I saw this as an opportunity and brought her up another tray. This time, syrup missing on the tray, I gowned up and gloved up slowly in front of her door so she could see me. Then, I went in with my best ambassador voice and big smile and said, "Name and date of birth, ma'am," which she grunted annoyed and said her name and date of birth. Then I said, "Do you want the tray over you or on the side?" Then she said, "Over me, you idiot." So I complied and did so. She saw the missing syrup and threw the tray on the ground. Then I looked and said, "Oops, forgot the syrup, I'll get you another tray." So I went and got her the same tray, of course, without the pepper on it. I went up and put the gown on, slowly turned towards her with a smile and said, "I'll be with you shortly," then gloved up. Then I said, "Oops, forgot to wash my hands." Proceed to take off the gloves and gown and wash my hands. Went back and put the gloves and gown on again. I could just see the fury in her eyes. Then I went into her room. "Name and date of birth, ma'am." Then she said, "You just asked me that question. You should know by now. Now give me the darn food." Then I said, "I can't give you the tray till you give me your name and date of birth." She said fine and gave me the info. Then she saw the pepper was missing but didn't say anything. Then I said, "Do you want it over you or on the side?" She said over and I did so. Then I said, "Have a good morning," and took off my gown glove and sanitized out of the room. She never complained about her trays again. At the start she said she was on a calorie restriction diet, but the nurses let her, but surely the nurses should be like, "No, you can't have the calories that you have," and just give her the food that she's allowed. Is that not dangerous or something? I don't know. Dad forces my sister to drive him everywhere while visiting, drives him to the most expensive restaurant in town. This happened a few weeks ago. My dad lives across the country from my sister. She recently graduated high school and he came out to visit. It's important to note that he's never really been good to her. My sister is immediately met with many commands. My dad said she must drive him home from the airport to his hotel. Then pick him up the next day and get dinner after graduation, along with some other things not important to the story. My sister and mum share a car. When asked how exactly my mum is meant to get around, he replies, "She can just Uber." My dad pulls a fun surprise and flies in a day early. My sister, who had been sick and running a fever, had to pick him up unexpectedly and go out to eat. At this point, my mum was mad. She offered to do something about it, but my sister calmly said no thanks. She proceeds to ask all of her friends what the most expensive restaurant in the city is. I won't give away anything too revealing, but this was in a pretty well-off Midwestern city. A really nice part at that, so you can imagine the results her wealthy friends presented her. So she picks him up and goes to a restaurant where there isn't a single entree item under $75. She orders the most expensive steak entree on the menu, with a loaded potato and truffle mac and cheese as sides. Both costing extra, by the way. She goes home with plenty of delicious food, and he goes home with a $400 hole in his pocket. Oh, $400 though. That's a lot of money, to be fair. He could have probably rented a car for like a month with that amount. You want me to carry on with my job? Okay. So, in the UK right now, it's raining real hard, and hasn't stopped for like 2 days so far. I work as an FLT counterbalance driver in a warehouse that distributes clothes hangers. Also to note is that we had signed a contract, if you want to call it that, a few weeks back, saying hoods are a health and safety risk and must not be worn, and doing so will be punished. Yesterday, it was really coming down, and I was told to put pallets away in the yard. There are some counterbalance trucks that have roofs, but mine didn't. And as stated before, I didn't have a roof or a hood. So I asked my team leader if I could swap FLTs with one with a roof, and he just ignored me and said to get on with it. I was done in about 40 minutes. The way I sit, I lean forward to see the forks and ensure they go into the pallets correctly. So by the time I finished, the back of the seat and myself were quite wet. I parked up in the warehouse and got off the FLT. My team leader then ran out of gas in his FLT and told me to fill his up, and he'd borrow mine. Knowing how wet it was outside, I agreed. Long story short, he got a wet butt and had wet trousers for the rest of the shift. I really love how hoods are a health risk, but the pouring down rain isn't a health risk, okay. Be careful what you ask for, you may just get it. Backstory. Just after I graduated high school, I worked for a fast food chain that was open 24 hours a day. This was in a very small town, and we were the only thing open late at night for 10 miles in any direction. The manager on duty the night this happened was great. We had the same last name, but were not related. She had a daughter 1 year older than me. We acted so many alike, people swore we had to be brother and sister. Just to give you context for how well we got along, this one night we were working, I was cooking, and she was taking care of the counter and drive-thru. This guy comes through the drive-thru and starts yelling he wants a cheeseburger with everything on it. The manager says, "Well, sir, we have lettuce, tomato." Then this guy cuts her off, stating, "Don't you understand English? I said I want everything." She looks at me and tells me, I guess he wants everything. Malicious compliance. I look at my manager and say, okay, one everything coming up. I put mayo, tartar sauce, something like Thousand Island dress, plus the usual ketchup, mustard, lettuce, etc. Then I added chili from the chili dog sauté, mushrooms from the mushroom burger. When I was finished, I put the cheeseburger up. I could barely close the wrapper around it because it was twice the size it should be. The manager looked at it and smiled. "You gave him everything, didn't you?" I replied, "Well, that's what he asked for." Manager replied, "Yes, he did." I followed this with, "I wanted to let him know I understood English." She laughed and we joked about this all night. Fast forward to the next night we are working together again. All of a sudden, she races behind the kitchen wall, out of the sight of the customers, dying laughing. I ask her, "What's so funny?" The manager, "Remember that guy last night with the cheeseburger with everything?" I said I did. That was him at the window. He had ordered a cheeseburger and specifically specified exactly the ingredients he wanted on the burger. I asked, "So, how did he like his burger last night?" The manager told me, "He had a message for you. He learned his lesson, be careful what you ask for, you may just get it. So I guess he learned don't be rude to someone who is about to make your food, or you could end up regretting your decision in life. I've got to give it to the guy because he actually did take it on the chin and be like, you know what, I learned my lesson. So I respect that. You don't get a lot of entitled people like that. You're not supposed to do that. Aldi malicious compliance. So today, I was doing my weekly grocery shopping in Aldi. For those of you who don't know, Aldi it is a German supermarket chain in the UK. I'm not sure if it is in other countries as well. Now, in Aldi, typically, as the staff scan through the items, and what can only be described as warp speed, you put your items directly into your trolley, and pack into bags at the end of the store, shortening queue times. I like to put my bags open in the trolley and sling stuff straight into the bags so I don't have to pack again at the end of the store. And it does not slow my packing one bit and have never had a problem before with this. Today, I had just about finished loading my shopping from counter into my bag, only the broccoli left, when some bold football hooligan type was next in the queue pipes up. "About time, you're not supposed to pack it here, you're meant to do it over there, you muppet." He points to the end of the store. At this point, the staff member at the till starts to tell me how much I owe when I smile. "My deepest apologies, my good man." I address our footy fan. I then proceed to unload every item in my trolley, taking my time, back onto the till area, having to do this carefully as this space is tiny. Take my bags out of the trolley, fold them up nice and neat, and then proceed to slowly reload the items back into the trolley. By this point, the man is visibly red with anger. I pay for my food, thank the staff member for his wonderful service, and proceed to go pack it back into the bag at the end of the store. I always get amazed when I watch these people do the scanning so fast, especially when they type in the numbers on the thing when they can't scan it. It's like, it's so rapid. Small victories, alarm companies and doctors. This is more like a small victory malicious compliance, something that you get to do during a mundane job that gives you a little smile in the middle of your boring shift. So please adjust your expectations accordingly. Here we go. Back in college, I worked for an alarm company to pay the bills. Specifically, I worked in what is called a central station, which is where the residential/commercial/fire alarms would ring into. It's 24/7, 365, so you could easily adjust your schedule to classes. Now, how the job works is that you sit in front of a computer, and if an alarm goes off somewhere, it pops up on your screen and you have all the basic info. Name on the account, address, phone numbers to the premise, relevant fire/police phone numbers, the type of alarm, front door, second floor window, fire, hold up, etc. And finally, there was also a list of RPs, which are responsible parties, meaning these are the people you call after dispatching the appropriate emergency service to let them know what is happening and that said emergency services have been dispatched. The default protocol for dealing with alarms goes like this. Number 1, call the premise to see if anyone is there and verify if the alarm is real or not. If you get an answer, the person must provide you with a preset authorization code. No code. Say hi to the police. Number 2, if there is no answer, or no authorization code, or wrong authorization code, you call and dispatch. For example, "Hi, this is operator 123 with X Alarm Company, and we are reporting a 458 audible at 555 Jones Street." And 3, call the responsible parties. Now, for those unfamiliar with burglar/fire alarms, I can assure you that 99% of them are false. Wind rattles a window, the alarm goes off. Someone hits the wrong button on the alarm panel, we get an alarm notification. You get the idea. Now, this angers the police and fire because they roll out to the emergency and there's no emergency. This is bad because if there is a real emergency somewhere, then they are already preoccupied with this false alarm. Additionally, it's expensive to run a fire truck to a false alarm. cost of gas, etc. Also, if for example someone mistakenly pushes the 211 silent button, a hold up, then police roll with pieces drawn and it can be very dangerous. So many municipalities began to enact false alarm fines. Usually, you get like 1 to 3 false alarms per year, and any more you get fined. The fines start at about $300 and then ramp up for multiple false alarms. No, this was in the 90s. I'm sure fines are much heavier now. Because of this, many accounts had modified protocols and required you to call the RPs, the responsible parties, first, before dispatching any emergency services. Now, some of our accounts were the homes of doctors. You knew this because the name on the account would say Dr. and Mrs. Joe and Karen Smith, or whatever, and you could tell by the address/alarm type that it was at their residence and not the doctor's medical office. For example, you wouldn't get a living room window alarm from an office. Also, the first number on the responsible party list would almost always be the doctor's office number, which also identified the premises as a residence. This is where the small victory malicious compliance comes into play. Many doctors would have a modified call list, so instead of calling the responsible parties after dispatch, they requested we would call before dispatch, so they could say yes or no to dispatching in order to avoid any false alarm fees. Problem is, they wouldn't tell their receptionist about this setup. So, inevitably, what would happen is that we would get an alarm, call the responsible parties first, which is usually the doctor's office, as instructed, and the following conversation would ensue. Ring, ring! Thank you for calling Dr. Smith's office, how can I help you? Hello, this is operator 123 from X Alarm Company. I'm calling to report a burglar alarm at 555 Jones Street. Is Dr. Smith available? Now, what I assume is that the person calling isn't immediately recognizable as a patient or insurance company. The receptionist goes into autopilot and just assumes it's a solicitation call, even though we distinctively say that we have received a burglar alarm. So, the receptionist usually immediately follows up with a dismissive, "I'm sorry, he's with a patient. Can I take a message?" Again, even after we've told them, we are receiving a burglar alarm. Small victory malicious compliance. Sure, again, we are receiving a burglar alarm at 555 Jones Street. Please let Dr. Smith know that we will dispatch the police immediately. Thank you. Now, if you want a little more satisfying malicious compliance, you hang up quickly and then wait like 30 seconds because the doctor will call back immediately, flustered and demanding you don't roll the police. Otherwise, you'll hear the receptionist tone go into panic where they say, "Wait!" and miraculously 10 seconds later, the doctor, who was supposedly with a patient, is now on the phone giving you their authorization code. I know, small victory, but always made the operators giggle at how quick the tune changed when they actually paid attention to what we were saying. Thanks for reading and have a good day. I feel like most receptionists go into like an autopilot where they'll just answer the phone, not listen to anything at all, and then only start listening when you say like, "Oh, I'd like to book an appointment" or something. Hey everyone, I hope you all had a really good day and that you enjoyed that video. If you want to check out some other videos, then click on screen right now, or check out the playlist down below. If you enjoyed that video, then please do leave a like. And if you want to submit your own stories, then you can do so by joining the Discord in the top link in the description. But thank you so much for watching, and I will see you very soon.